Coming up on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely at one point, when my attorney was like, "Hey, you have to prepare for anything," and I was
What does
like,
that mean?
"That
Like
means,
like jail.
yeah, jail, like people chasing me, cartel chasing me,
Oh my God.
like attorney fees, like I literally, okay, this is what in my head, right? This is what I'm preparing for:
Okay.
death, death in prison, bankrupt, right?
Wait,
Death,
death in prison isn't worse than death?
yeah, because death in prison, you get raped and then killed, right?
So when you shoot the commercials and stuff, are you doing like full director of like everything?
Yeah, so basically the agency, like let's say Nike comes to us, right, and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, we want you to advertise like a shoe,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
with LeBron James, and it's going to be the lightest shoe ever that came out."
Okay.
So they would give us a brief, right, just like any company or whatever. They say like, "This is essentially what we want to do," and
Yeah.
then what our agency would do is our creative team would basically come up with an idea. So we would be like,
Hmm.
"What if we had a cloud in the shape of LeBron's shoe, like a real cloud floats across the air, or like, what if we had all of a sudden we had a game in at like in space,
Yeah.
basketball game in space, and everyone was wearing these shoes because it was so light, they just kind of like float in space." Like we would come up with those ideas and we'd like visualize it and Photoshop it and create a whole deck presentation and say, "All right, so we set it up and try to sell it." And if Nike says like the idea, then they say, "Okay, we like it. Here's like $5 million to make uh, hire the directors and the whole team and
Yeah.
media companies and make it come to life."
That's crazy. And then so do you do all the in-house or do you find the creatives to make it happen?
Yeah, no, we somehow sometimes outsource to, like, if we want to do like virtual reality, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
people who know how to do that. So we would hire those companies or directors, or I mean, if we want to make a shoe, we'd have to like hire a shoe company.
That's
So
insane, bro. You're doing
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
not that's not even the typical Asian path. I mean,
Yeah.
stereotypical, I would say not typical, stereotypical from the parent side, but it makes so much sense knowing how creative you are. So you said you didn't find out that stuff until college?
Right. So in college, so growing up when I was like 17, right?
Yeah.
I'm 38 now. So at 17, I started
So
dancing.
young.
So yeah, at 17, I started dancing, right? 15, 16,
Yeah.
just kind of messing around like as a kid, practicing like martial arts and stuff like that. And then just pretending to be celebrities, like Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, whoever, like the dances. And then eventually I like started learning, like actually watched Usher's, like one of his videos, and he did the glide, and I learned it by watching the video. And I was like, "Oh, I could do this." And so I went to college, started a dance group, you know, and then in college, like in that dance group that I started, because it was more focused on storytelling.
Right, right.
We would enter like dance competitions and we won through our storytelling. And then that's how I like got into design, because I liked visualizing movement and stuff. And I was collecting comics and played Magic the Gathering. I was like a big geek too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, the combination of comics with movement through dance and storytelling, I was like, oh, I want to get into design and art.
Do
So
you I think you draw too, don't you? Like by hand?
I do, yeah. I don't
Naturally?
draw as much anymore, but it takes a really long time for me to draw. Like I'll take like a month to draw something.
Were you always creative like that growing up though?
Not from a like, I want to be a drawer or an artist.
Yeah.
I was surrounded by that type of culture because my brothers collected comics. We watched
Yeah.
like Transformers and stuff. So like it was just around me. And then growing up in the ghetto, because I was born in Oakland, like
Yeah.
have I didn't have toys to play with. I played outside in the dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you sculpted like blobs of Transformers and was like, this is Optimus Prime. So kind of like a part of life versus I am an
Right,
artist.
right.
Even now, I don't consider myself an artist.
Really? You're so creative, and it makes sense because when I watch your concept videos,
Mhm.
I would say they are one of the few, by definition, true concept videos for dance, right? It's not just, a wide angle on a gimbal and flying around, right? Doing a piece. Like you, I mean, yeah, I'm thinking back at watching your pieces now and just being amazed because it wasn't just dancing, it was like a whole visual experience.
Right.
Like, how long does that take for you to come into your mind and then actually do it? Because I feel like the execution is the hardest part sometimes.
It is. The execution is probably like 75% of it,
Yeah.
because we are not, innately we're just dancers, so we're going to dance. We're
Yeah.
going to do the
Yeah.
best we can, and we can't do better than what we can naturally to do, right? So,
Right.
in terms of from beginning to end, I think in terms of that with dance, I'm definitely more on the artistic side.
Yeah.
Um, so the concepts kind of come in basically wherever I'm at in life, like there's some videos where I'm just having a blast, right? And
Yeah.
it's like I have these friends of mine that are doing this clip of like showcasing my house, like I
Yeah.
just in San Diego, or like there's one where I have like this puppet routine
I
that's like,
love that piece.
yeah, like I was a very dark period in my life, and
I didn't realize that.
hmm?
I didn't realize like but it makes complete sense that you would draw from your life during those times to make those videos. I thought it was just oh, I think a puppet idea is a good idea.
No, not at all.
There's
I
so many
mean,
layers.
yeah, I mean that's what resonates to you as an, I guess, artist or a dancer, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
gonna just, they're dancers that just dance, right? And that's great.
Yeah.
But for me at least, in order for me to really dedicate myself in the execution and the concept and the production value, I need to really love this idea. And in order for me to do that, I have to resonate to it. So
Yeah.
dark period of time, and I felt like there's a lot of things that were out of my power that was like pulling me left and right, and it was inside my head, and
Yeah.
sometimes I just wanted to escape and let myself free, and that
That's
was,
so crazy.
yeah, yeah.
But I think you're one of the few, though, now that I think about it, that really straddle the freestyle and choreography line,
Hmm.
right? I mean, some people who don't know dance, they think it's just all one thing. But I mean, historically, there is a differentiation between, choreographer dancers and freestylers, and I've seen you do both. And I was just bragging about you today, actually, because I was excited to talk to you. And I told them that when I watch you freestyle, it's so rare that I can never, at this point, I can never even remember you doing the same move twice or getting stuck in one spot, in one position, or one concept when you start freestyling, right? How do you train that? I guess because
Mm,
and does that help out with like the other parts of your dance? Because you're old school.
yeah, I mean, I think like I was, because I'm self-taught too, for the most part. There was no like this is how you do it. Like I was self-taught for the most part of my dance career. It was in my middle to my middle half is when I started being able to afford to take classes, right? Because when you're
Yeah, yeah,
you just gotta like, I can't pay $8 to take a class. Like I need to eat, So like I guess I was just moving, and I was dancing, and like really you have to emulate the sounds of the music, and there's no song that's exactly like another. So innately, and I'm fortunate to just kind of like get that at a younger age, is like I moved to the music, and then later in my life I got a lot more technical. So that's when I got into like, more tutting and popping, and like even my locking styles. Um, so I mean, I think there are times where I do drill, I do repetitions and stuff like that, especially when I get technical with my tutting or my popping and stuff like that. But when it comes to just like getting down at the club or whatever, like you'll never see me do the same. Yeah, unless it's like foundational stuff, then yeah. But
that's why I loved going out with you when we lived in San Diego. Because
yeah,
when you are technical, I would say not even just creatively, but technique wise, fundamentals, foundational. Like you're one of the best that I know. But then you're also one of the just most fun to watch when we go out. Like and not even like just like party dancing. Like you just get it. a lot. And so, but when you're learning these foundations, are you learning in class, or are you getting like the OG hand me down, like, like you're spending time working through things with other dancers? Like, how do you develop your second half of your career?
So my second half of the career, like I started taking classes, right? Like, I did take like Wiggles workshops in New York when I was over there in New York for a
Oh,
little bit.
wow.
I did learn like traditional. Actually, he's more like he's traditional, but he also taught like modern style. Like he's like very, he's just well diverse, like that kind of style of popping. And then I started taking dance classes,
Yeah.
you know, so that kind of like helped, I guess, give me a better understanding of it, because back then it was like the freestyle scene was hating on the
Yeah.
choreography scene, but I was just like, why? Because it's just different ways of cooking an egg, right? So I wanted to
Right.
learn everything. So I just became this big sponge. And so I was I was sessioning with Hausers, I was popping, I was locking, I was, learning top rock to everything, like as much as I could as a sponge. And that kind of just let me diversify my style, which I have now, is more of
Yeah.
a locking influenced. I'm not even like a traditional locker,
Yeah.
locking influenced, or just a mover in general.
Dude, I remember, just because you're, like you said, you're influenced by different styles. I
Yeah.
remember getting casted in your pieces and thinking to myself, what am I doing right now? Like I have no idea how to make this work. And it was so cool to see, and then, so how did you get onto SG?
So I got into SG, I think in like end of 2011.
Okay.
So had already decided, me and my ex-girlfriend, Sheila, she was on the team too. We decided to move to San Diego, to dance, basically.
Yeah.
And so we drove to San Diego when they had auditions, like super had auditions. And this was like after they won, you know, like HHI. I think they placed second or third or
Okay.
first. I don't know which one, but they did really good. And like they were the dream team. And also it was, I've always looked up to Java, which Kevin, started Super Galactic and is in Java. So I was like, oh man, this is it. Like let's go. So we went to audition, and I remember it was like a 12-hour long audition.
What?
Yeah,
That's like that's a real casting call right there.
I think auditions started at like 12, and it didn't end till like 12 or 2 a.m. or something like that. And even when they called my name, I didn't believe it. I was like bummed because they called my number or name, and I just like I didn't think it was like, okay, I made it. I thought it was like, all right, you need to leave or whatever. So uh, yeah, so I made it, and then we made it, and then couldn't move till like a couple months later. So we moved eventually, and then they were like in the middle of the set, and they just threw us in the middle of the set, and we just had to like pick up. And what was great about it is like, we had like Wally and Jazzy and Nathan and like Jackie and
Oh, I love that whole
all
gym.
these people that were like, all right, we'll catch you up to speed, and they caught us up in like a week.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You guys, I could not have asked for a better time to jump onto the team for those couple of years, because having you as a director with everyone else, and then just that feeling of like, oh, we'll catch you up, we got it, we'll make it work. Like that
Yeah.
was so good, especially for Taylor and I. Like I said, we just moved, we didn't know anybody. We got lucky. I got super lucky because Paul had just moved back, so we got a private, and because at the time we weren't doing auditions, right? We weren't doing anything like that. So I was like, oh, I hope SG sees, and I was just there, lucky. But the thing I really liked about you as a director was, before I knew you were, working in a creative sense, I could tell by the way you talked to us in rehearsal that you had some type of big boy job, right? That you were in charge, that you know how to speak to people and present ideas. You're always really clear and articulate. Uh, and I was like, who is this guy? Because he does not talk like, he's obviously a dancer, but he doesn't talk like a lot of the other dancer directors that I know. So how do you do that? Like, how do you balance being a director of an elite team, and then, I mean, you were doing some really big things on your professional career too.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I'm not, I definitely never consider myself like a really good dancer. So I needed to communicate well. Like, there's great directors too, like you see Carlo and
Yeah,
Kino
yeah.
and Bing and all those guys, like when they move, you're just like, ah, he doesn't need to explain anything. I'm just going to learn that. So I think, growing up especially when I got into advertising and art direction, the whole point of creating something and presenting it so that people can say, yes, I get it. I'm in it. Here's my heart and soul. Like I'm with it.
Yeah.
Is really important. And that helped develop it, as well as my childhood. Like I grew up, you're Vietnamese, like we have a lot of cousins, and I was the
Facts.
oldest of the cousins. So I grew up in a big household. I grew up in a lot of cousins, and I was always the one in charge of like, all right, take all your cousins and figure out what to do. You have any money? We had to like figure out games. And so I created these games, and I was like, all right, you three, you're in charge of this. So the delegating and that type of leadership role has always been a part of my life, fortunately.
That's so cool.
Because we're not raised in that way, right? The whole world, like you're
Yeah.
not taught to be leaders. You're always following, like you're taught to do homework when you're taught to listen to your parents. So
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have that. And I think like that helped me communicate with super.
As a creative, I mean, more so on the professional side, you talked about creating something so that you can show a client and say, hey, this is what the vision looks like, right? Or this is what this is what we're going for. How do you take feedback from clients or revision requests, right? As someone who's, it might be seeing some of your work as like, yeah, it's really good.
I think, just you kind of come at it from a dancer's perspective, right?
What do you mean?
Like one thing I learned a lot about dancing is like, when you go into, let's say you go into a battle,
Yeah.
you're going to lose like 90% of the time, right? Because there's going to be that like superstar popper dancer that's just going to crush you. But you
Yeah, that
learn.
was you.
No, not at all. But you learn from it. You know what I mean? You learn.
Yeah.
So you grow thick skin as you like enter battles and you enter like group competitions. And, you realize that like, okay, winning is not everything, because sometimes you learn more by losing. It humbles you. It teaches you like, okay, what can I do better? How can I regroup with my team and say, what can we do better? Let's do it. And there's that like growth,
Yeah.
that the journey that's more important. And so in terms of whether it's dance or whether it's advertising, if someone's not going to like your stuff, you're going to be like, okay, what do you like and how can we get there, versus get butt hurt
I
or,
love that.
yeah,
I love
it's
that.
solution oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You dropping bombs already? My man. I want to get into the story a little bit, right? So before we get that, break down real quick, why you moved from San Diego down to TJ.
So my cousin, James, he worked at the FedEx corporate office in San Isidro, which is right next to Mexico. And so he's on importing, exporting business.
Yeah.
So it was shipping containers and stuff like that.
Importing and exporting business.
Children and no, it's like through FedEx, so it's legitimate, and
Yeah.
and we were hanging out with his coworkers, and so a lot of people work in America or San Diego come from Mexico, right? Especially along the border, because a $15 an hour like job is a lot in Mexico. So they, people that have dual citizenships will do that. And so we were hanging out with his coworkers a lot because we were both in San Diego. And so we'd go to like their birthdays, their kids' birthdays, and eventually got close to their families, even their mom's birthdays and stuff like that. And one of them had a nice house, and I was like, how much is this? And he was like, $500. And I was like,
What?
okay. It's like $500
You
a
didn't
month.
say 500 when we were talking earlier.
Yeah,
That's
500 a month.
That's a rented room in LA. That's a closet in LA.
A closet, if that. Yeah, 600.
Yeah.
Right. So,
What's the commute like then, though? Because you said you were on your bike a lot back then.
Yeah. So, and we also had global entry. So we go in the special, like, quick
Is that
entry
like
line.
pre-check for TSA?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Okay.
pre-test. Yeah. Pre-check. And then, so from door to door, it would take like 45 minutes, 55 minutes.
That's nothing. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Right. And so we were just like, we can save a ton of money. We can get a really nice apartment. And we did. We got like an apartment that was like, I think 1,100 square feet, like 2 bedroom. We had a view of the city. It was just
Wow.
really nice, and I could practice my Spanish. We love the food. The tacos are
Yeah.
amazing, obviously. And the people are super just genuine,
Yeah, yeah.
like they're.
So was it, and this is like, not getting political, but like during Trump era, right? Like you're going back and forth. Was it tough? Like I don't know how that works. So I was never allowed to go to Mexico in the army because they
Right.
were scared we would get kidnapped. We might have. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the political aspect of it, not just from America, but like Honduras and Venezuela was going through their hardships. So they were sending caravans up through Tijuana and try to like just go through San Diego, to like just pow through it. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
And like the Haitians as well. So there were all these tents everywhere. And I was just like, what is going on? So not just from the Americans, but like south of Mexico. So it just all collided right at the
yeah. Insane.
border. While this wall is being built,
Yeah,
um, it's funny. It was just, I mean, not funny, but it was crazy, but it didn't affect me as a U.S. citizen because
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
U.S. citizen, so I can go in and out as I please.
That's good.
Yeah,
Can you hear my son crying?
I cannot.
That's good. He's wailing
Yeah.
right now. I think he's just hungry.
Oh.
I think his grandparents are wanting too many hugs and kisses.
He knows how to work him.
He will.
So how did you?
uh, okay, so you're in Mexico. You're having this baller apartment. In my mind, like Phuong's place probably looks like, without the killing, like an American Psycho apartment, like just super clean, up to date. And you're going back and forth. What, five days a week?
Yeah, before COVID, I was driving back and forth.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
COVID hit, and then I was just there for the most part. I mean, I could still go back and forth.
yeah.
I was like, me and my ex-girlfriend were together, so I would visit her, and I would like sometimes go visit my friends out here. So it
Oh,
was
she
like,
wasn't living in Mexico with you?
no, 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 she was in San Diego. So I would say like 3 days out of the week, still coming back and forth in San Diego.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So what happened different the day? I'm guessing you got pulled over.
yeah.
Let's
So
talk about that.
the juicy part, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So like I told you, I was at this point I was driving my car back and forth, and I was going to get dinner with my friend Miguel, who's actually my roommate right now. So when you go through the border's like this, right? And you go through and you drive, and then you go through the Mexican border check, and right across is the American side, right? You kind of
yeah.
get checked usually once, and you just drive through. So I go in through the Mexican side and like checked, and they're like, okay, routine checkup. Yeah, okay. All right, drive forward. And then I drive forward and then into the American side. And they were like, oh yeah, pop your trunk. We're gonna just check your trunk. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I pop my trunk. And then one person looks in, and then there's just like 10 cop cars that surround my car, right? And they're like, one guy's like, biggest dude, he's like, hands outside your vehicle. And I look around and I'm just like, who are you talking to, no one around me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, it's talking to me. And so I rolled down my window, put my arms out. They like grabbed the window,
Oh my gosh.
open the door, like cuff me, throw me like out of my car basically,
Yeah.
move me into this group holding cell. This was like 3 months ago. And so there's probably like 6 or 7 other people. There's a big cell, like there's the office, and we're cuffed against the wall, and I like have no idea what's going on. 3 hours pass. Nobody says anything to me. Once in a while there's a Homeland Security agent that'll come out and talk to each other person in Spanish. And like they'll basically say you're arrested because of this reason and because of that reason. And some people would break down, you know? And I'm just like, what? And I'm just trying to be calm as possible
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't even know what's going on, right?
Have you called anyone at this point? I mean, does anyone else know?
No, nobody knows. Like a
Okay,
friend who I'm supposed to have dinner with is probably wondering what's going on,
got
you know?
stood up.
Yeah. So a couple hours later, they move another holding cell, eventually like questioning for hours, you know? And they were just like basically told me that I was arrested for transporting narcotics. And I was like, okay, well, did I have like a gummy bear or something that I dropped? I was like, I didn't know what was going on. They're like, no, that you had almost 100 pounds of methamphetamine in your trunk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I was telling my buddy, my barber this morning, like, hey, I mean, because of this kind of story, and I didn't know how much the weight was. So I BS'd it. I was like, probably like 100 pounds. That's a lot of, do you know how much money that is?
It's like $250,000 worth of drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you had no idea it was in your trunk?
No. And when he told me that, I laughed because I was like, I chuckled, you know, I was just like, "You fucking with me," right? I was like, there's no way, you know? And he's like, yeah, it was hidden in your, like where your spare tire is. So underneath
Yeah.
that cover. And he goes, and there was a tracker as well. So I guess what they do is, you know, they watch the border, they see who goes in and out, they put a tracker in your car, wait till you're gone. And in Mexico, you valet your car everywhere. You know, you don't park your car
I
and
didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, because it's like it's dangerous, you know. So you
Yeah.
valet your car, you make sure it's like in the garage or whatever. But those guys also have access to your keys, so they can do whatever.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah. So I tell them, you know, like everywhere I've been for the last month, where when I work, what I do, blah 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 blah. And eventually they let me go, right? They're just like the agent goes, all right, I believe you, you know, we're gonna let you go. But you have a court date still next month, and you could be sentenced up to 10 years in prison.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
10 years and you have no idea. So I'm guessing they confiscate it and they give your car back.
No. My car is still at the border. My phone is still at the border. That's why
Today? Oh, that's why you have the other phone.
yeah.
It's not a good look that you have a burner phone right now.
I know, I know. So I'm just like, yeah. And so, you know, I asked them, I was like, before when they were like interrogating him, I was like, well, you know, can I talk to my attorney? They're like, you can waive your Miranda rights or talk to your attorney, you know. But if you talk to your attorney, you have to wait till tomorrow when we move you to the prison. And then you'd have to get your hold of your attorney to get here by 8 a.m. for your 9 a.m. court date. Otherwise, we'd give you a public defender. And I was like,
Is that shady? That seems weird.
probably, I don't know, whatever they said. But I
It's
was
a
just,
good tactic
yeah, but I didn't know. You know, I was just like, well, of course I'm going to talk to you guys and let you guys know what I know.
because you're innocent.
There's no way my attorney would even come to San Diego by then. So I'm not going to go with the public defender.
Yeah.
So I told them, you know, everything like I knew, and I gave them even access to my phone because I was like, I have nothing to hide, you
Yeah.
know? And so eventually that's when they let me go. And they're like, you know, next month is your court date. They gave me all my stuff in a box. They're like, we need to hold your phone, your car, because it's evidence. And they're like, here you go. At 3 a.m, they let me out. And I'm like outside of Mexico border, basically on the American side. Like there's no taxis, no Ubers because of COVID. So
Yeah.
I'm just walking. I'm like only 3 phone numbers written on my hand.
Oh, they let
Right?
you do that?
Yeah, because you have to like call someone. Yeah, but I don't have any like. How am I going to call anyone? There's no payphones.
I can
Well,
imagine you doing that though. You should have
huh?
just danced on the corner for some change.
There's nobody else. 3 a.m, and I'm at the border of Mexico. What am I going to get pesos?
Oh my
You
gosh.
know?
So
Yeah.
so where'd you walk to?
So I just walked and walked and walked, and I was like, I finally found a taxi. You know, I was just like, hey, take me to, you know, like this hotel that I know of.
Yeah.
Got me there. Next day, I called my cousin who's an attorney, and she connected me with attorneys from LA and San Diego, and eventually got an attorney, and then got the case dismissed because they didn't really have a story. They didn't really have
Yeah.
a case. I gave them all the information I had.
So
Like,
straight possession is not enough to convict you?
no, they have to have a unreasonable doubt that, that
Yeah,
I
I don't
would
know.
like, I have no evidence of like me talking to any cartel members or drug
Yeah.
dealers,
That's my only reference for drugs is watching Narcos.
Yeah. So it's very real. Like, people say, I mean, even Texas, like it's a
Oh yeah.
huge, there's tons, I mean, if not more drugs being transported through there, I think. But like all that stuff is very real, from the murders
Yeah.
to kidnappings to, but you don't see it.
Do you ever get worried that because they're tracking it, they probably know that they had $250,000 worth of drugs taken by the border patrol that they would come find you?
So yeah, that's the other thing. Like when I was in the hotel, I talked to my attorney, the attorneys that I was talking to, and they were like, keep moving from hotel to hotel because they could be looking for you.
Oh
So
hell no, Phuong.
yeah, so I'm like looking over my shoulders to not get killed by the cartel. I don't know whether or not the US government is gonna screw me over because they have everything of my belongings.
Yeah.
I could be sentenced to 10 years in prison. The only thing I had was like, like my job. And
Yeah.
who knows what could happen. But
That's insane. So did you already have your court date?
did I what?
Already have your court date? I mean, so you got dismissed and everything,
I
right?
got dismissed. Yeah, so I didn't have to go to trial. And if I did have to go to trial, it would have gone for like years because of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you're not stuck in prison the whole time, out on bail or anything. Like you're roaming.
Yeah, I was roaming. Typically, you would be in prison. You would be there until your court date. But because the agent like believed me, he's like, typically I would not do this, but I'm gonna let you go because I really do believe in you.
What are the chances that those drugs are already back on the street?
Those drugs, doubt it, but the amount of drugs that was on me is not a lot. So apparently,
What?
and I was doing research on it. So I'm a blind mule case, right? Is when you don't know, you're kind of like, there's mules, which is like people who like swallow drugs and put it
Like
up.
Clint Eastwood.
Yes, like the movie, yeah. And then there's blind mules, is when you don't know. They can put bricks of magnets under your car or
A
whatever. Like
blind burro?
a blind burro, yeah. So there's people that have like, bricks of marijuana or bricks of cocaine that are like just stuck under your car. That's like the small amount, right?
How much
There's,
does a brick weigh? Of let's say coke.
I have no idea. I don't know how much it weighs.
That's crazy.
I just
100 pounds of meth though. Is that like in a suitcase? Like give me a visual.
I
Like
would
what
say
do we,
suitcase amount, yeah. Like full suitcase, if not two suitcases.
oh shit.
Yeah. Because when you travel, right? You ever
Yeah.
weigh a bag and they're like 50-pound limit and that was pretty heavy. Imagine two of those.
Okay, but it's not like a duffel. It's not like a 1990 suitcase, right? Like a briefcase.
Whoa. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see it. They weren't like, here's your drugs that was in your car. I didn't even it could have not even been there.
Are you like chill now? Like it's been a couple months.
Yeah, yeah. So case is dismissed. I'm just waiting for them to release my car, my phone.
What are they waiting on?
So when you get arrested, right, you go through this whole like process as a human being. When your evidence or belongings, it kind of goes through this whole different process. Yeah. So especially with vehicles, right? It's like when your car gets impounded, right? You park somewhere, you have to pay every day, right?
Okay.
Because it's in a lot. Because they outsource this to a private lot.
Yeah.
It does the same thing. So with my car, I'm also accruing fees.
No, you're not.
So yeah, this is the probably the most interesting part about interview is this car thing because a lot of people when they get arrested they get their car impounded, right? The
Okay.
government keeps your car for who knows how long. They also know how much your car is worth, right? So let's say I drive a
They can
Civic,
sell your car if it exceeds the lien or the worth.
right? So my car's worth like 11,000 right now, 10,800. They gave me a letter and said the maximum fine you would get for your car is $11,000. So in order for me to get my car out, I have to pay $11,000.
Oh, they're not even gonna wait. They're charging you 11.
the max if I was to accrue that much, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I have to pay 10,000. I would have to pay 10,800 to my bank because that's how much I owe the bank. That is
Oh my gosh.
right. So typically, and the government does this, they just hold it, right? Because they have no rush. What's the rush, especially during COVID?
Yeah.
So a lot of people. Imagine if I was a janitor, right?
Yeah.
And I had a truck, and I still owed like $2,000, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck,
Oh my gosh.
right? And the government says you owe $2,500.
Yeah.
He's just gonna give up his car because he can't afford it.
So does that hit your credit too then?
No, I mean,
Well, I guess you're making payments on a car you don't own anymore.
right. But then on top of that, if you can't go to work, you're gonna get let go. And you get let go, you can't pay for your kids and your family. So people get messed up. And I've been reading about a lot of people, especially, blue collar workers, like they get jacked. Like, and that's how they, like, poor people stay poor and the rich,
Yeah, yeah.
I was very fortunate, like, because I had the agent like siding on me. He talked to them and I only have to pay $500
But they're $500 from then they've been holding it this whole time.
the whole time.
Is
Yeah.
that in writing?
That is in writing. Yeah. Everything is in writing, man. Trust me.
I know you are.
Reading. Yeah.
That's the crazy. I didn't think about the impound thing because I remember in college I was dating this girl and there was never any parking around her apartment. And I
Yeah.
remember my car got towed probably 3 or 4 times in that week, and we'll go get it every other day, and it'd be like a couple $100 every single day. I was like, this is. We dated, so it was worth it. But I was just like, man, this is insane. Like how fast it could rack up. And I remember seeing cars in there and hearing these guys in the back talk about how long certain cars had been there and reading the chart about how much they can charge per day for holding. It is insane how fast it racks up.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder why those dump yards are not made of better material. Like they should be
Yeah.
making so much money.
Those dump yards make a ton of money.
That's insane. I wonder why I wonder why tow truck drivers are so sad then. Why are they so mean?
Well, because they're the cousins. They're not the owners. There's
That's
the
some southern
junkyard,
stuff.
yeah, the owner, and then there's the cousins that like, yo, I need you to go pick it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, I'm glad you're good now. Paul was telling me a little bit about it after you and I had talked, and I was like, what is happening
Yeah.
to Phuong right now? And I was telling Paul, the coolest part about the story, besides the car and like everything else, and in my mind, seeing you as a cowboy is just how cool you are about it. Like I've never known you to stress outwardly,
Yeah.
or really even raise your voice or like show an extreme emotion. Like, are you pissed off the last 2 months, or is it just
Mm.
your demeanor is always like, okay, well, I guess I got to get through this.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely at one point, when my attorney was like, hey, you have to prepare for anything, and I
What
was
does
like,
that mean?
that
Like
means,
jail?
yeah, jail, like people chasing me, cartel chasing me,
Oh my god.
like attorney fees. Like I literally, okay, this is what in my head, right? This is what I'm preparing for.
Okay.
Death, death in prison, bankrupt, right?
Wait,
Death.
death in prison isn't worse than death?
Yeah, because death in prison, you get raped and then killed, right? And then bankrupt, or best case scenario, pay a butt ton of money to attorney fees but get let go, which is where I am, right?
Yeah.
So with all of those kind of things in my mind, I'm like, everything else in life is minute, right?
Okay.
Like work problems, it's like, okay, we can figure this out. It's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? And I mean, even with dance, right? Like before that,
Oh
like
yeah.
I think because I grew up in a big family and very poor in Oakland, right? We're always solution oriented. We're
Yeah.
poor, but we never felt poor because we had family. And so I was always raised that way. It's like, what can you do to make the best out of the worst?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, just sharing the Vietnamese experience with you. Um, the amount of things you can use a tub of butter for,
Mm.
or the the actual container for, amazing, right? And so that's the type of recycling that we do in our own house, or like ingenuity, is just amazing to me. And yeah, just finding a way always. I remember my grandma, I think it was, one day I was like, I was young, I was probably salty that, I don't know, probably like didn't have like the newest toy or something. And instead of giving me the kids are somewhere, some kids don't have toys speech, or whatever it was, I remember her making toys out of like chopsticks or something. And
Yeah.
then like that was the lessons, like, okay, well, we can make our own. Like that's so cool, man, that you let that carry through. Hey, do you want to say hi to Taylor?
Yeah. Yeah. I
All
want
right,
to say
let
hi
me
to
get
kid
one.
too. Oh.
It's about to be bath time.
What up, Taylor? What's up,
Bend down a little bit.
Elijah?
Bend down a little bit, 'cause you're free.
Dang.
Yeah.
He's
Hi.
a
How you
man.
doing? Hi. Hello. I'm naked, Daddy.
I know.
He's modeling right now.
Wow, he's
What is
very
his face?
stern right now. He's
I know.
like,
Fist bump. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Say hello.
Like,
hello.
maybe if we put a blanket on him, he would be so shy.
Oh no. Run free, my child.
So how's parenting life? Ah,
I will say time is
It's a
passing
lot.
by so fast right now.
yeah.
Okay.
You are too much. Look, this
Cover up. Better not pee on me. Parenting life's crazy, man. It's like I feel like we're the same people, which is something I was like wondering when we were pregnant. Like, hey, do we change completely? But I will say the priorities are way different now,
Yeah.
and I'm completely okay with that. You know, like we moved, and I changed jobs, and everything the last 2-3 months, and like everything was like, it was like a lot of changes. I mean, it wasn't like cartel crazy like you, but it was like a lot of changes. And I remember thinking like, okay, this could be stressful, but then I know I'm doing it all for him and for the family. And so because of that, I feel like you're good. Okay, say bye.
Bye, Taylor. Bye, Elijah. Ah.
bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
I'll see you after your bath. See you
Now
after
you
your
want to sit? You're
bath.
crazy.
Okay, bye. Yeah. So we want that. Oh, did you ever see that movie Big Fish?
Yes.
So I love that movie because there's that scene when he's looking at his own death through the witch's eye.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time he's about to die, he goes, this is not how I go.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, it's like parenting to me. Like his level of fearlessness about dying is like, this is not how it's going to happen. So like any decision I have to make now when it comes to parenting, I'm just like, we will not end up as a dead family, like homeless, poor. I mean, I don't mind being poor or homeless. I'm just saying, like, like through those hardships, like this is not how it goes. Like I'm going to do everything I can to make it work because this is not how we go as a family. And it's like, it's kind of cool. It's like a
Yeah.
fearlessness about it, but it's also like, it's also stressful, right? Because the wrong decisions, I guess you can't really just think about wrong decisions or right decisions. You just commit to a course of action after figuring out pros and cons, and then you just go.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what's up with you, man?
I mean, no, I mean, I'm happy for you guys. You did get to move and you like change jobs and, and
Yeah.
it seems, at least from what I've been seeing, is like you guys have been doing well for yourself. So,
Thanks, man.
I'm happy for you guys.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I will say, maybe a year or 2 years ago before he was born, I think my main purpose, especially as a man thinking about it, was, hey, get a decent job or a well-paying job, at least if you can. You don't have to love it. You should like it, and then put the time and the money back into the family, right? Because the immigrant Asian in me is like the money equals freedom and time down the road. And I think that's 100% right still. However, there was a point when I was becoming increasingly miserable
Mm.
in my job, and then I started noticing I was taking some of that home.
Mm.
And so, um, I had to put my money where my mouth was and be like, okay, well, we're gonna make some changes. And so I changed everything, except for the family life, in like a 2-month window.
Wow.
And luckily, we did our due diligence right, and so we came out on top on almost actually in every category.
Great.
Thank goodness. But it was scary because if I was 22 years old, I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. If I was 22 years old, I have no problem moving, leaving, like all these things.
A lot more to take care of,
Yeah, I don't
So,
know. I mean, I can't believe you're 38.
yeah.
Dude,
Oh
you look
yeah.
you look the same as when I first met you.
Thanks, man. You look the same too. I was like,
Thanks, man.
yeah.
I got some grays now. Is that why you're dyeing your hair blue?
No, not at all. Actually,
You got good hair still.
thanks, dude. Yeah. I definitely have like a couple of grays, here, but as long as it's short, you can't really see it. So,
Yeah.
but your gray is like right here, which is nice.
I love it. I've had that since I was in my middle 20s. I never knew I had it until I got out of the army and I started growing it out, and it was already there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I had no idea. Well,
Yeah.
we miss you, man. I hope we get to see you in person soon. Tay and I talk about you every once in a while. We talk to Jackie every once in a while, and that
Yeah.
crew, and we miss you guys. And
Well, Crystal's moving out there.
I think she's coming to visit us in a couple weeks or right after
Okay.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to teach every once in a while out here, so she's gonna sub one of my classes, and that way
Nice.
she can get down because she's another one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Not
Well,
that
one of
far
these
either.
days, man, like I've actually never really gone to Texas. So
Really? Everyone from California is moving.
I know everybody. My cousin's there.
Oh, really? Where?
Shit, I think he's in Austin. Not sure.
Austin's like the Bay,
Yeah.
but with more space.
It's crazy because he was working in the Bay and he has an increased salary in Texas, so he's just making it.
Yeah. I mean, and cost of living's cheaper. I mean, I don't know about Austin because it's pretty comparable, I think, as far
Yeah.
as like how much houses cost out there. But I remember when I moved from LA to Houston, uh, without any difference because there's no state tax, right?
Right.
And cost of living, I got a raise for just moving. And then the house that we bought, the mortgage was significantly lower than the rent I was paying on my loft in downtown LA.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Like this is crazy. So come through.
I
And now
know.
that you can probably work, remotely from anywhere.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think right now the thing that I have to get in order is my car and my phone before I decide to go into more luxury trips.
Dude, if you move, they're gonna be like, he's running. He's running.
Yeah.
Did the cops give you that speech of, I probably wouldn't leave town anytime soon?
Well, they said, I probably wouldn't do any drugs, until this thing. Yeah, I don't plan
Until
on.
but right after you're okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a wild ride, but I think, like I love Mexico. Like I actually
Yeah.
went back last week because I had to close out my bills.
Oh yeah.
Because when I got arrested, it was like I still had my apartment, like, and my cousin had to close everything out, and I just had to close some stuff up. So I'm cleared to go anywhere. It's just more of every time I come back into the States, I have to go into secondary.
Did we message you? We might have messaged you and you may not have got it on your phone about the wedding.
I probably didn't get it because I don't have my old phone.
Okay, because I don't have to be like, oh, I don't know where the thing went. No, I definitely messaged you and
Yeah.
Jackie, some people, but yeah. So March 27th
March
is the
27th.
date right now. It might get pushed, obviously, but as of right now, and it'll be chill. It's in my uncle's backyard. He has a couple acres,
Okay.
and so we'll do something nice.
Get
We'll
out
get
there.
all the homies out. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to see my naked boy for a
I
little bit.
know, man.
He
It's a
jumps in the
beautiful
back.
big boy. Oh, man.
Yeah. So when he watches this back and he sees his naked self and feels embarrassed or proud, depending on what he's feeling that day,
Yeah.
what would you want him to know? Because I think we've already dropped a couple of gems here.
Right.
So you could double down on any of those or anything else, but what would you want him to know growing up?
I think, you brought up like what we could do with butter and how infinite possibilities. And I'm going to steal this from Catch Me If You Can. I don't know if you've seen that movie,
With
but
Leonardo?
Leonardo DiCaprio. And
One of my favorites.
yeah. And who's his dad? Who plays his dad again?
More cowbell guy.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
So he said this thing, and I think this applies to everyone, and hopefully Elijah's work ethic too. But 2 mice was stuck in a deep bucket of butter, and they were like, "How do we get out?" Sorry, in a deep bucket of liquid or something like that. I don't know. And they're like, "How do we get out?" So they swam around in circles, and they churned that liquid into butter, and it became solid, and they got out. So that hopeful thinking and work ethic will always get you there.
I love that. That's everything I know about you in a story. For sure. Thanks for taking time to speak with me today, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hitting me up, and it's always good to catch up.
I know you're one of the I don't know if we ever told you this, but I think you were like one of the biggest reasons why we stayed on as long as we did, and stayed around just San Diego in general as long as we did. Like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being under your directorship.
Thank you, man. That means a lot, and really it does, because when you are in that position, you just don't know. You just
No, I love it. And I knew you were always in a good spot, emotionally or with the right purpose. Cause I remember I asked you about working and like dancing and stuff. Cause I was like trying to figure out the balance, and I was showing up late for rehearsals. And you pulled me to the side and you're like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, we need you here," and stuff. And I remember, thinking, "Oh my gosh, like Phuong really cares." Like I didn't even take it as as a talking to us. It's like Phuong really cares, and I need to be here for this team. And I always appreciate that you, one, had the courage to do that as a friend and as a leader, because I know that could be difficult sometimes for people to have those kind of conversations. And I love that you did that. And I recognized it, and I was like, man, yeah, like Phuong he's a different breed.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. And I'm sure you've either already have applied it to what you're doing and stuff like that. So I'm just glad that we got to go on this journey and grow from it and just do weird shit, because that's what I was doing. I was just like, we're going to do some weird stuff. Not sure people are going to like it. Not even sure it's going to look good, but we're just going to do it.
Yeah.